Hey, namaste, namaskar, sat sri akal, vanakkam, and welcome, friends, to meet Meenamma. We are now on a Wednesday, a very special day, the day for the event mavericks to come through. And today, I am feeling so wonderful because the person who's here with me in the studio is somebody who's traveled the path of life as an event manager, along with us, many years of great friendship. Today, it's a great honor to introduce a wonderful person. Fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to take some time. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with immense pleasure and excitement that I welcome you to today's podcast episode. I'm Meenamma, your host, and it's an honor to introduce a visionary leader who has redefined the landscape of event management and festival curation in our country, India. Today, we have the privilege of hosting Martin da Costa, the trailblazing CEO and founder of 70 Event Media Group and the 7 Steps Wedding Management Services, as well as the event director of India Bike Week. Martin's journey from founding India's leading luxury and special events companies to establishing globally recognized festivals is nothing short of inspiring. Martin is a true pioneer in India's special events and festival IPR management businesses. His brainchild, 70 EMG, is celebrated worldwide for its excellence in luxury event planning and for his wonderful designs. With operation centers in Mumbai and New Delhi, covering over 90 dedicated employees, and now he says he's got 140 or 150 of them, 70 EMG has set new standards in design, hospitality management, and many other verticals. The company's portfolio includes iconic festivals like the India Bike Week, the Zambhala Festival, the Kala Ghoda Arts Festival. But Martin's achievements don't stop here. He co-founded Olive Bar and Kitchen, a wonderful, venturous, beautiful treatment, and he saw tremendous success before he exited to a private equity sales. He promotes art and culture, and it led to him also to do wonderful work with the Skoda Prize for India Contemporary Art. Welcome to the Meenamma show, Martin, because you are somebody who has not just walked the path, but walked like the lion in the jungle of events. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fasten your seatbelts. My dear friend, Martin da Costa, naam to suna hoga, is here with us. Hi, Martin. How do you feel today?
Hi, Meenakshi. You're too sweet. That was too good an introduction. It's lovely to see you again.
Yes, I think we've shared like 30 years of a friendship, and it's wonderful to watch the way you've taken different verticals and excelled at each job that you've done. In our audience, we have a lot of students and entrepreneurs and young minds who are waiting to suck us out and glean what our experience has brought to the table. But before anything else, Martin, who is Martin? Where was he born? And I know 1995, India was gifted with your presence. But what happened before that? Tell me about your childhood.
Well, no, I was born to a Portuguese father and an English mother in Lisbon, in Portugal.
Wow.
Went to school, to a boarding school in the UK, then went to the London School of Economics. So I was always traveling between places, so between Lisbon, London. And even from the age of about 15, 16, I suppose, I often used to take trains right the way across Europe on my own. So there was always a sense of independence with my childhood. My parents were very good at allowing me to be independent. And then after the London School of Economics, I joined it was a sports marketing event management firm, and I was heading up marketing there and basically dealing with international golf, professional tennis. And at that point, I suppose I was 23, 24. I hadn't even thought, India hadn't crossed my mind. I was always fascinated by India, but the idea of moving to India hadn't crossed my mind. And then, quite by chance, something happened. And this miracle happened, and I ended up in Mumbai on the 30th of August, 1995.
Wow. This is so wonderful. And I think I met you in 1996 during the Pepsi Dance Connection. We were curating the ground event for Venkat Vardhan of DNA at Vishakhapatnam and Hyderabad. And at Hyderabad, I found this handsome hunk hanging around on the, the stage at the back where Sagarika and Shan were performing. And we put the dots together. And here you are. You are very much an integral part of the whole story, the romance of events and what you've done with your life. But Martin, you're a trailblazer in the event management fraternity. You're a festival curator par excellence. Can you tell me what was the initial vision with which 70 EMG started its journey, and how has it evolved? See, everybody knows the full story of how you came, what you did, but what was the vision when you started, and how have you seen your baby growing and evolving?
It has been it's been going for long enough to be a baby. I think it's about 30 years now, isn't it? No, I mean the vision started actually almost in London, because that miracle that happened was that I met this guy. He was from Bangalore, but he was in London working at this company I was working at, and he invited me to a party in Hampstead. Quite randomly, and I went to that party, and it was in this big house, all brightly lit, and it turned out to be the Bachchans, so Amitabh Bachchan and Ajita Bachchan and Ramola Bachchan. It was their party, and they met me, and they basically hired me and sent me out to India to work for ABCL or to work alongside ABCL, really. And so I was introduced at a very early stage to the sort of scale and size of India, and the glamour and the glitz of India, through the Bachchans and through Mahesh Matai and Srila Chatterjee and people that I bumped into along the way very early on. And I very quickly realized that event management, experiential management, was going to be a really important business for India. And it was very nascent at the time. I mean, there was Brian Tellis at Fountainhead. There were the Whizcraft Boys. There was obviously Venkat, Venkat, who was very, very helpful to me in my early years. Enormously helpful. In fact, I remember he when I first landed in Delhi for the first time, he showed me around, introduced me to people. He was just wonderful. And I just thought, what a nice bunch of people. The showbiz guys, the Showtime guys, they were all there at the time. And it was all very new. And I thought, okay, there's space here to create an agency that operates at a sort of, I mean, I hesitate to say it, but at a sort of world-class level of execution. So that you would take a brief from a client or come up with an idea for an event, and then you would make sure that you would do it really well. And people were doing that. I mean, obviously the Whizcraft guys and Fountainhead and all the people I've mentioned so far were already doing that. But it was small. It was 5 or 6 agencies, 4 or 5 agencies, I suppose. And there just seemed to me to be a great deal of space in this industry. And then in 2000, we got the company had been building. We were working with Coca-Cola. We were working with ITC. We were working with quite a few big brands by that point. And in 2000, we were approached by the Sanghvi family to do their wedding in Udaipur. Okay. And it was the first time a private wedding had been done on Jagmandir at the City Palace. I mean, it had never been done before, and the Sanghvis had managed to swing this deal with the Maharana. And we went in there and produced that wedding. And it was absolutely eye-opening for me, because I suddenly really truly saw just how enormous this event management business could become in India. We'd obviously been doing an awful lot of corporate work, and as you know, Meenakshi, just the fashion show tours and the music tours. But this first wedding we produced was just so beautiful and so luxurious, and it really was the first time where you came up with an idea and the budget was given to you. It was just wonderful.
Yes.
And so I thought, okay, well, this is fantastic. And so we set up 7 steps alongside 70NG. And then, both businesses developed side by side. And at a certain point, we realized that Indians at some point were going to start paying good money for tickets to events, paying money for entertainment, which it had happened, but in a very sort of haphazard way prior to 2004, 2005. And that's when we started thinking about festivals and the whole IPR business.
Yes.
Very broadly speaking, that's how it happened.
Martin, you are a leader, an iconic leader in the luxury and special events category. Many of us, I remember when Razzmatazz started in 1992, we took everything that came our way and, we just wanted to prove our point. But you were very clear from the beginning. And you come from another country. India is totally a new country to you. But you come with the global experience of having seen things in other countries across the global shores. Did you have any struggle days? Was it easy for you to set foot and, set your office? What were your struggles? Because people always think, there was nothing on those days. So all of us had a cakewalk. But it's not true. People didn't believe us because they didn't know what we were doing. How was it for you?
I mean, exactly that. I mean, it was, I remember the first 4 or 5 years, in fact, the first 8 or 9 years, I would be making upwards of 50 phone calls a day, sending, in those days, in fact, there was no emails, of course. So in those days, sending 10, 15, 20 faxes a day and just trying to spread the message to clients that that professional event management can help you, that we are solution providers. And that if you want to portray yourself properly in a I don't want to say international way, but in a professional way, then you need to hire professionals and you need to pay us for that. And that was a struggle because, as I'm sure you remember, Meenakshi, I mean, in those early days, to get a company to believe in you, to pay you, to trust you, it took a lot of convincing. But then, once again, as I'm sure you know, as I'm sure you've experienced, once you start doing things and you start proving yourself, your track record improves, and then the referencing amongst clients starts happening. So people start saying, these guys are good, work with these guys, and it is a game of patience as much as anything else. I remember thinking you just have to be enormously patient because 99 times out of 100, in those days, it wouldn't happen. The events would be planned and then clients would not do it because they wouldn't understand how to do it or why they had to do it. And all of us just kept on plugging away. And I think the turning point was around 99, 2000. The whole Y2K, the change of the century. And suddenly it just seemed to us that the business had reached a level of professionalism where brands, clients were trusting us much more. And then the whole thing became much more professional, which was, frankly, I was actually very thankful for. It made our lives a lot easier when companies had marketing people who actually understood what the event business was all about. But I never, I never really found. I've never found working in India that different from working anywhere else. I mean, and the other thing that I've also found is that events in India generally tend to be much more successful. They're better than events in most other places. People really enjoy events in India. People really enjoy being with each other. And
true, very true.
Again, I mean, we both know this. There's nothing better than being at the end of a successful event and just seeing the happiness, the joy on people's faces. That's one of the reasons why we do what we do. And you get that sense in India. You really truly get that sense of accomplishment and happiness and joy at the end of a great project from the people who paid for it, people who are at the events, especially weddings. Especially where they're thinking about weddings, which You know, the people are just so thankful for it having gone well. It's just a wonderful business.
I remember post Y2K, not only were people understanding us as event people, but we started giving them experiences. And I remember all of us were shouting, no, it's experiential. So the word became a household word, and people started understanding that events were all about experiences. You started creating IPs, intellectual properties, very early. And I think the year 2013 saw you in a wonderful sterling role. I was speaking to a number of young people about you and to just check the awareness. And everybody said, bingo, India Bike Week. Your name has become synonymous with the roaring bike show. So let's go directly into, what 50% of the audience is waiting to listen to. The story of the India Bike Week, a massive success. You celebrated 10 years last year, isn't it? We are moving on to the 11th edition this year. What inspired you to create? Because there was nothing like biking. There was no professional biking in India, if I remember right. And if you owned a bike or a Harley, and people would be drooling at you and looking at you like you were some freak. But you brought them all down and, educated people on how the beautiful freedom of biking would feel like. And then the bike festival, this entire bike event that you got together, it sets you apart. And you are similar to many other festivals across the globe. People compare you with top-notch festivals across the globe. Tell us the story of the India Bike Week. I think that is your best contribution.
Yeah, well, IBW has been a passion project really from the start. And in fact, we have a new festival coming up in February, which is the car version of India Bike Week. It's called Generation Speed. We can talk about that later. But India Bike Week started because. And this is interesting because to do a project like a festival, it takes an enormous amount of energy, time, dedication, passion, and it's that passion that can't be replicated. You can't really. It's incredibly difficult to build a festival from scratch without a dedicated team of people who really, really love the idea of it. Now, biking was in 2013. Biking was unbelievably nascent. I mean, we figured we sort of assumed that there was probably about less than 20,000 guys, girls with motorbikes that were over 400, 500 cc. I mean, not including the Enfield 500 cc bikes. So Harley had just launched. The Ducati Triumph. All these other brands were just in the process of launching, and frankly, we probably started it 3 or 4 years too early. But anyway, so. We were sitting around the office one evening, and Dhanush Joseph, Darius Gokul, who are my partners at 17, my co-founders, and I were sitting there. We were knocking around ideas, and we're all bikers, and we loved biking, and we were like, let's just do a bike festival. It sounds like a brilliant idea. And I happened to. And we were launching in Harley Davidson in India at that point, and Harley Davidson was being run by a guy called Anup Prakash, who's this wonderful guy.
Yeah, what a wonderful person.
A great guy. And I mentioned it to him. We were having malt whiskey and a cigar in Delhi at the Oakwood, at the cigar bar. And I mentioned it to him. He was like, "This is a fantastic idea. Let's do it." And so we did it. I mean, it was literally as simple as that. And what we did differently, I think, is that, and this is what 70AMG has always done, is that we didn't really work. Well, we obviously created a budget, but we knew that budget was not going to be covered by ticket sales or sponsorship, and we did it anyway, right? So we lost or invested huge amounts of money in those first 2 or 3 years, knowing we were going to lose that money, but just convinced that if we do it right, people will come. It's that Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner baseball movie. You build it and people will come.
Yes.
And pretty quickly, and because it was done so well the first year, people started coming, and brands started coming, and the other thing we learned as well is that that the communities of bikers, so the biking clubs, and when we started India Biking, there were probably less than 30, 40 biking clubs in the country. Now there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them.
Yes, yes.
they had no real place. There was no forum for them to meet, engage. There was no place for them to celebrate their passion. And that's about community. And community is the key to this. So we alongside just building the festival and putting all the content into it and so on, and marketing the ticket sales and with getting the sponsors, we also dedicated probably an equal amount of time to just developing the community, to developing our links to the community. And so we used to do these chai and pagoda rides on Sunday mornings across the country, where we'd meet bikers, we'd ride with them. And that was invaluable because we started making connections across the country with biking clubs. And suddenly people were riding from Vizag, where you are now, Meenakshi, all the way to Goa. People were riding from Nepal, from Kathmandu. People were riding from Sri Lanka. I mean, it's extraordinary. And like you said, we celebrated 10 years last year. And I think my favorite memory of India Bike Week, though, was in December 2021, during the pandemic. So if you remember, we'd gone through the lockdowns in 2020 and 2021. There was the Delta version, and all events had been banned, of course. And India Bike Week, we said, listen, let's just do it in December 2021.
You did it during the pandemic?
Well, we did it towards the end of the pandemic. We kept very strict COVID rules and so on. And we were the only festival to happen in the entire country that year.
Wow! Wow!
And we did it up in Ambi Valley, not Goa, because we wanted to keep it smaller because of COVID. And there was about 3,500-4,000 bikers that showed up, and they were on their knees with gratitude. I mean, they were so happy to be out and about again, to be on their bikes, to be
free again.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
There was just this wonderful sense of belonging, camaraderie.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking of how you must have felt at that time. What a way!
It really was amazing. And so that's when we really got a sense that, okay, India Bike Week is here to stay. It's a fixture now of the festival environment.
The most beautiful part of your festival, it's like the Kenyan, the Masai Mara, we see bikes on the road a week before, gangs of, Harley Davidson and all the big bikes, the big boys and girls driving towards your venue. And I actually watched, I sat down and just enjoyed about 50, 60 bikes going on the highway at the time when your bike festival is happening. I think it's like, culmination, a melting pot where everybody comes in, come back home and be passionate about what you like biking. You created an entire value system. And I think from 2013, the bike companies also must be feeling very good, because a lot of people have got into professional biking, and your festival, although we have the Auto India and we have some showcases, I think you're in a class of your own, isn't it? It's not just about biking. It's an entire philosophy. And then you have music, you have dance, you have, getting together, you have talk shows, you have exchange of ideas. And after 1 week, people are feeling like they're going back home after enjoying themselves at a vacation. So, it's a beautiful thing, and the ethos resonates and grows by the minute. I personally know a lot of people from my city who know you and who have seen you and actually taken pictures with you. And I'm sure for those who are watching, this is your Martin I'm talking to. Thank you so much for telling me so much about this wonderful man. Martin, I understand that, there was an announcement which I saw about generation speed. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? If we had beasts with two wheels, what happened to the four-wheelers? So you have another new story to unfold and another great IP coming up. And I guess you're going to have more takers, because the volume of people for your next festival is going to be all of us, the entire world, the entire country. Tell us more about your next festival for the four-wheelers.
I mean, we're really super excited about it. So Generation Speed is India's motoring festival. And in a nutshell, if you can imagine the Delhi Auto Show, which we've all been to, it's hundreds, it's stalls and exhibition stands of all the major manufacturers. But the problem is that the cars don't move; they just sit there.
Yes.
Now, Generation Speed is the opposite of that. So Generation Speed is everything that India Bike Week is, obviously. So it's the food, the music, the talks, all the sort of elements that go into a great festival. But it's also 300-400 of the most amazing cars, motorbikes, maybe cars, of course, that you can imagine. Everything from classic cars to hypercars to Formula One, two,
Force,
three,
yeah.
Formula E cars. And every single one of them will be racing and roaring down a track in front of you. And we'll hopefully doing it at Ambi Valley. So there's a massive runway there. Where we'll build a sort of little track, and you'll actually get to see these amazing machines in motion. You'll hear them. So we're super excited about it, and alongside that, of course, we launched Generation Speed online about a couple of months ago, and it's already generated enormous traction. I mean, the films on our Instagram account are getting 1 million+ views already.
Traction, yes.
In 6-7 weeks, there's tens of thousands of followers on Insta that are entirely organic. We've not paid for any of it. So we know that, and we've already been in touch with the communities. So we're in touch with the 4x4 communities. We're in touch with the overlanders. We're in touch with the hypercar guys, the supercar guys, the motorsport guys, the girls,
the vintage,
and of course the vintage. Yeah, I mean, because we've the thing about 70MG is that we've got a really amazing track record in that auto space. I mean, not only do we've been working with car companies like MG and Audi and Range Rover, etc., for years now. But we also did the Cartier Concours, the Travel with Style Concours. I don't know if you remember it, Meenakshi. But
yes, of course.
Was the most amazing classic cars.
Beautiful.
In India and some of them in the world. And we would do them at these palaces in Rajasthan and in Hyderabad. And international judges, celebrities would come down to see the cars. So we've got a great track record in various elements of the car world, if you like, the auto world. And it just seemed to make logical sense to replicate India Bike Week for four-wheelers. We know that the communities are desperate to meet each other. Just like the biking communities, like the biking clubs wanted to meet each other. They wanted to celebrate their passion for what they do.
The pride of being together.
Yeah, exactly. And it's exactly the same with the auto world, the community of car lovers. And what I've been saying to the team is I've been saying, it should be the best weekend you can take your kids to, right? So, I mean, it should be like this father, mother, son, daughter event where you just have a brilliant time. It's a great day out.
A bonding time. Yeah. Wonderful. In case the audience is thinking that this is the Auto Man of India, he's not just doing auto stuff. His IPs are, more based on the wheels, but he also curates Kala Ghoda and the Zambhala Festival of yoga and arts. And there's a diverse range. It's right from weddings to regular corporate events, which is typical, to these wonderful, car-based and bike-based events. But tell us about Kala Ghoda. I'm obsessed with that beautiful event. It's so much. There is so much of history. And I personally know Brinda and the entire team of Kala Ghoda, and how hard they work. But they swear by 70MG. So when I told them that I'm bringing you on, they said, "Oh my God, he's the best." So I was so happy that Kala Ghoda happens, and you're such a vibrant part of it. Tell us about your involvement in art and culture fests also.
So Kala Ghoda Festival is, as you know, is this amazing free performing arts festival in Kala Ghoda in South Mumbai. That we've been working with the Kala Ghoda Association on for 19 years now. I'd have to check that.
Yeah.
And it's run by Sushant Arora these days, who's head of 70MG's Delhi business, Gurgaon business. And he, so he's been working on Kala Ghoda for I think all 19 years. And we've seen it grow from 10, 15,000 people to lakhs and lakhs of people.
Yes.
And it's a truly amazing event. I mean, I think it's the biggest free arts festival in India for sure, possibly in Asia.
True.
And Brinda Miller and the association team, so Brinda's team, are the ones that actually curate it. I don't curate it. We just help manage it. But they're fabulous. I mean, they've been running this project with passion and drive. There've been struggles along the way because it's been tough to get sponsors for it sometimes.
Yeah, very
Because it is free to
difficult.
the public. It's always a challenge. But it's been pulled off every year, and I think it's one of those events that is just in people's calendar, a little bit like India Bike Week, or I suppose like Sunburn.
Yes.
It's in your calendar. You know that Kala Ghoda is going to happen on such and such a date, and you'll make time for it. And of course, it's free, so that's unusual these days in India. Everything is paid for.
Very true.
People just love it. The other art and culture things that we introduced was the Skoda Prize for Contemporary Art. And we ran that for 3 years, and it was fabulous.
Yes.
We stopped running it because Skoda decided to put their money elsewhere, and we came to the conclusion that just a single sponsor event is a difficult thing to keep going. But it didn't revolutionize contemporary art, but it became a very, very important thing very quickly. And there's scope for reproducing that at any point in the future.
You actually cater to large groups, diverse groups. When you come to the Kala Ghoda or the Kambala, how do you maintain your standard of excellence? See, there are lakhs of people, and you still have to maintain excellent management standards. Everything has to be spick and span, done well. Creative people are very fussy, but you've somehow just taken the higher bar each time you went and executed these functions. How do you plan such creative functions?
So that the most important thing, and it's something that we increasingly we're taking for granted at events in India. The most important thing is basic hygiene at an event, so that the queues at the box office aren't ludicrous. That you've planned that properly, so that dare I say it, so that the bathrooms, the toilets are kept clean, so that there's no litter anywhere. So that there's enough food, there are enough bars, there are enough coupon counters. That it should be an effortless thing to attend. When any festival, everything should be relatively effortless. You shouldn't have to queue too long. You shouldn't go hungry or thirsty. And this is very, very basic event hygiene. And that's something that we've always been good at 70, because we've cut our teeth doing very large format events. Whether it's weddings for 5,000-6,000 people, or concerts for 20,000 people. And we've always had the attitude at 70 EMG that, if you see litter on the floor, and okay, I might be the CEO, but I see litter on the floor, I'll pick it up. Right. So,
yes.
It's if you see something going wrong, you'll fix it immediately. You won't wait for someone else to do it. You won't wait for, labor to come and pick up a chair. You'll pick up a chair yourself and move it. So that's a key part of the philosophy. Now, in order to make everything run properly, the absolutely critical thing, obviously, is planning. So you have to plan in advance. You can't have Shah Rukh arriving at Bangalore airport at 9:02 and then assuming he'll be on stage at 10:15, unless you planned it. Unless you have someone at the airport, you have the car, the driver, you've got the driver's mobile number, you've plotted the route. You have to plan it properly, and you have to plan it holistically. Now, the only way you can do that is by writing it down, right? So, and it's something that we teach, the kids that join 70 into your 7 steps, that we don't want to see you without a notebook and a pencil or a pen in your hand. I don't mind if it's an iPad. It's fine if it's an iPad, but you have to have that notebook and pen and pencil in your hands. And then, of course, we have a whole series of checklists, production timelines, event manuals, and everything's there in writing, in black and white, so that pretty much everyone knows what's going on. at any one point. But the most important thing is to write things down. I mean, it's impossible to remember everything. It doesn't matter how good you are at event planning. You know, the pre-planning phase of the event is, in fact, the most important. If you get that right, then everything will tend to go well.
Yeah,
that comes from experience as well.
Yeah, very, very global events you brought to us, and these are the key components in giving a global look to every event. And India is capable of coming up to that level, except for some mindsets that we have to change. You co-founded Olive Bar and Kitchen. It's not just events, you had your fingers in all the good things of life. It just became a significant, successful endeavor. What are the key factors, Martin, behind the success of Olive? And what did you learn from the venture that you applied to your company, 70?
So Olive was a side venture. I mean, it was never my core competency or the way it happened was that my wife Sagarika Sag and I had been thinking about setting up a restaurant in Bandra, and then Sag met A.D. Singh, the restaurateur, and Henry Tam, and A.D. said, "Listen, why are you setting up your own restaurant? Just set up, let's just open a restaurant together." And we hired, or A.D. hires, Nozir Wadia, the architect, who designed this stunning restaurant. I mean, it was the first really great restaurant in Bandra, in the suburbs of Mumbai, and it was an instant hit. And it was an instant hit for a couple of reasons. I mean, one was that obviously it was almost standing alone in the suburbs, but also it was a design. It was the design of it. So it was Elsie. I don't know if you know Elsie Nanji. She used to be.
Yes, of course.
Yes, I mean she's a legend in
legend. Yeah.
Space. So Elsie and Hosi, with Sagarika's help, basically designed this incredible, beautiful space, and people flocked to it. I mean, there were crowds outside it from day one, and then I frankly surfed behind AD and Henry and as we opened up new olives. So there was Delhi, and then there was Bangalore, etc. And so they just kept opening up. And it got to a stage in, I think, by 2008, 2009. So we'd been in it for 9 years, where I think it made sense for AD to run it on his own, because it was his baby. And so I exited. But the lesson I learned from that old process was just about the importance of design. I mean, we kind of already knew that, because we're in that space. And 70MG has always been super good at ambient design, stage design, set design. But I really saw the impact of that because of Nozir and Elsie's work.
Being with the experts, it's a different dimension, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. You bring up Sagarika's name. You were wooing her when I first met you. You were the boy who was standing and waiting for this beautiful girl. Sagarika is a celebrity by herself, a great singer. And she settled down happily in your nest, and she, partners you not just in thought and action, but also in your spiritual values. She's a beautiful person. And for those who know, Sagarika is Shan's sister, the one and only Shan, whom I just love. And Shan and Sagarika together, they had a lot of, albums. But it all stopped, and then, she becomes the wife of this wonderful man, Martin da Costa. Martin, how is it to balance a celebrity as your wife? At that time, she was already there on stage rocking it. And, how was it at home? I mean, it's a different aura, isn't it, when you come back home and your wife is as vibrant as you. So tell us how important this partnership was.
I mean, I saw Sagarika on stage in Ahmedabad at a Channel B roadshow, wearing Sophia Haag's red dress, and I was managing working with Lucky Ali at the time. It was 1996, early 1996, and I just fell in love with her. I mean, it was love at first sight. I mean, I saw her on stage, and I was just, wow. But it took me about 1.5 to 2 years to get her.
Yeah.
So it was a long, was a long gestation period, and we obviously got married and moved in with each other, and had kids. And I think, and then we moved to London for a while. So we were traveling between London and Mumbai and New Delhi. And Saga's musical tastes changed. So she started thinking more. So she started working with artists like Talbin Singh, and doing tours with Talbin, and became much more international, much more, yeah. And that's where that's the direction she's gone in. And then Saga's also become this amazing interior designer.
Wow.
Like a really talented designer in her own, in terms of spatial design. So, for example, I don't know if you know that, but we moved into this quite massive new office in Mumbai, and that was entirely designed by Saga Deco, and it's just this triumph of design. And so she creatively, I think she's just shifted from music to spatial design. As far as to how we are, I mean, we're a married couple and have been for almost 25 years now. So yeah, 25 years next year, with two lovely kids, two lovely boys, and we enjoy the same things. We enjoy travel, we enjoy food, and we enjoy other people, and art, and it's.
What about the next generation? Are they also bikers? Your boys? Do they also want to be in your shoes sometime tomorrow?
No,
not yet.
In the slightest. No, they don't. They don't want to be bikers. They're not bikers. The older boy's 20 years old. He's currently in New Delhi. He's interning for 3 or 4 weeks with the wonderful Tarun Talyani. So
wonderful fashion.
So Joshua's studying fashion design at the London College of Fashion. And then the younger boy's still at school. He's 17, and he wants to become a restaurateur, chef.
Wow.
So he'll be going to culinary college and business school. They're on their journey. How much control you have over your children after a certain point it becomes their life at a certain point, and you just have to let them go and find themselves on their journey, and just support them.
But you've been in different verticals. You've been in the fashion world. You've done some very top fashion shows. You've handled a lot of corporate events, cultural festivals, the bike festival. You've done a variety of different jobs. How have you found the last 30 years in the event industry, where it was and where it is now? What are the changes that you see in the industry per se in this long journey?
Well, certainly. I mean, obviously, the one massive change has been the internet and the digital world, and that change is, we're only we're probably at the end of the beginning of that. There's still enormous amounts of change and development that's going to happen there because of AI and because of the hardware of the digital world is going to shape shift over the next 5-10 years. So that's been a fundamental change in how we operate, obviously. The second change is obviously just in terms of scale, just pure scale. I mean, I think now there are literally thousands of event agencies in India, most of whom are doing relatively well. Some of whom are doing extremely well. When we started, there was probably less than 20, 30, 40 maybe. So that's, just in terms of the sheer volume of the industry, it's grown enormously. The size and scale of the events have grown. And, we've been involved in the entire Ambani wedding process. And the scale of those events 10 years ago would be inconceivable. So we're producing stuff now that the world is looking at. And we're producing it at a level which is beyond world class. I mean, I don't think there's many agencies globally that can pull off things like bits and pieces and parts of that entire Ambani wedding process. And I remember when we were working on the Ambani Udaipur wedding 2-3 years ago, and it was just extraordinary. The sort of the luxury of it, the planning of it, the detailing of it, the creative design around it. In large part thanks to Neetaji Ambani, of course, and the family themselves, but also because of all the agencies involved. And the idea 10, 20 years ago that there'd be agencies that were specialized just in food, for example, or agencies that were specialized just in individual elements of the event process. So there's a maturity to the event industry now in India. And then, of course, the IPR business. So that's been an enormous change. The ability of young Indians to go out and spend 1,000, 2,000 rupees on a ticket for a music festival or a concert or a motorbike festival, that has been a profound change. I'm sure you remember in the old days, no one would buy tickets. You'd get your father to ring up the police chief, get a free ticket from him or some politician or whatever.
Half the tickets went to them.
Yeah, well, you'd be stupid to pay your money for a ticket.
Very true.
That change is very profound, and that's what's led to, the sort of proliferation of festivals and concerts and international artists coming to India. And again, we're only at the beginning of that process. So if you can imagine Glastonbury, which of course is the world's greatest music festival.
Yes.
Now that's 2.5 lakh tickets at a £250. Well, that's 35,000 rupees each, and they get sold out in 4 minutes online.
Yes. So all these.
We've yet to reach those levels.
Reach there, to be sold out. Yeah, that's true. You and I are like founder members of EEMA, the Event Management Association, with 70 EMG, and your vision. I mean, very few of us actually got together, and we are enjoying the camaraderie of the fraternity today. We have a professional group, and we are like brothers and sisters in a family of event managers. How important do you imagine the role of organizations like us in making our fraternity professional? There are many young people who think that they can just, take an random event and call themselves event managers. But it's a very long and distant and hard road. You and I have been there, and we have so many years under the belt to talk about how important it is that, we have to go out and make these people understand our story.
I think it's absolutely vital. The work that EMA does, it doesn't matter whether Sanjoy Roy or Roshan Abbas is in charge, or Brian Tellis, or Sabas Joseph. The work that they've done has been amazing, in fact, because there's an enormous amount of work for us to do as an industry anyway. In terms of getting the government to take us seriously, in terms of getting clients to take us seriously, and the role that EMA plays there is absolutely critical, and it has been doing fantastic work there. But like you say, the other point is about just sheer education, and so there have been multiple programs that EMA has launched, whether it's supporting women in the workplace, for example, or whether it's working on mental health and work-life balance, which are just as important. It's an industry where it has its less professional sides, because, as we all know, you can set up an event agency with a business card, a laptop, and a mobile phone these days.
Yes.
But to do great work, you really have to know what you're doing, and you have to, you do have to get your insurance organised, and you do have to have your crisis management organised, and you do have to have your fire and health and safety organised, and all of that is what EMA is pushing outwards into the industry. And by and large, I think it's been doing an amazing job. I mean, the number of events. I mean, of course, there was the tragedy recently.
Yes.
But the number of events that happen like that in India is actually very, very low. Virtually all events go actually very well. And the other big change that's happened is on this health and safety front. I mean, we're increasingly seeing people going up on the rigs to put lights up on the trussing.
Yeah, without safety gear. Yes.
But we're increasingly seeing them wearing the safety gear now, and wearing the helmets, and even the operators of machinery now have to be certified, and a lot of that's being driven by EMA. A lot of it's being driven by the venues, the hotels themselves. So the industry has professionalized itself very rapidly over the last 5 years, and certainly
Yes, yes.
post COVID. I mean, and COVID, I think, was an enormous watershed for the event industry in India. On the
Hmm.
one hand, it promoted this whole idea of health and safety planning, and secondly, it just showed us the importance that events had in the Indian psyche. That the ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with other people and enjoy the great energy of a performance, or live, not on your laptop and not on your phone, but
Celebrate life,
live.
yes.
And
That's
that
true.
had that sort of turbocharged the whole event industry and EMA with it.
Martin, it was such a pleasure to have you. I can just go on and on because, there's so much to glean from that pure heart that you have. But, Blue Tick is ticking away at me saying, it's time for questions. There are a lot of children out there, a lot of wonderful people in the audience who have come to be part of this session. And I request Blue Tick to kindly give us the question and answer. Otherwise, Meenamma can go on talking to my dear friend forever and ever. But before that, give me 3 pointers for the younger generation who want to get into events. India is happening in a big way. This is the time. So, what does Martin say for them?
If you're thinking of getting into the event business, don't hesitate for a moment. It's a business which is where you'll never be doing the same thing every single day. Every day will be different, and that's one of the great points about the business we're in. And the second great point about the industry, the business that we're in, is that every project we do has a finite end, and at the end, there is this incredible sense of achievement and joy and excitement of having done something brilliant. So that being said, you love the event business. I can tell you 100% that it's going to grow and grow and grow over the next 20, 30, 40 years. It's an industry where robotics and AI can't do everything. You need
Very
human
true.
beings. So that's a
Questions.
massive plus point as well. If you're entering into the industry, carry a notebook and a pen and write everything down. 1, 2, take what you're doing really seriously, and take your own career and yourself really seriously. Marry the seriousness of what you're doing to your own future life. What the amount of energy and effort you put into your career when you're 21, 22, 23 will magnify in 10, 15 years time. You'll get paid back that time and effort and energy you put in. And 3, enjoy it. Just enjoy it. It's too easy to get stressed and miserable about the work you do often. But this is an industry where you can have fun, and this is an industry where you can really enjoy yourself. You meet amazing people, you go to amazing places. Right now I've got a team of 50 people sitting in Paris at the Olympics building India House, which is this enormous construction for the Paris Olympics. Some of them have never left the country before, and yet there they are in Paris at the Olympics.
Wow.
So it's
Amazing.
yeah, it's an amazing industry.
Yes, the blue tick, you may tick on now.
Great. Thank you, Martin, for such wonderful insights about the industry of event management and your answers to some wonderful questions by Meenakshi. We have a question from Mr. Anantram. Being in the 10 years in the bike event management in the India Bike Week, he's asking a question about what is your views about Royal Enfield Bullet as a bike. There has been a resurgence in the market over the past couple of years that even have cafes attached to the showrooms. So what is your views on that?
I just think that Sid Lal, who's recently become a good friend of mine. I just think what he's done with Enfield is nothing short of miraculous. I think I own an Enfield, a Bullet from a 350 from 1982. It's a very old bike, and I've been riding that bike for 30 years in India. But between you and me, it's not a great motorbike. It really isn't. You buy a Bullet today, and it's one of the best bikes you can buy. You buy an Interceptor, you buy the new Meteor. They're just fabulous, fabulous motorbikes. The new Himalayan.
Yes.
So what Sid's done with that company and with that brand is amazing. And I'm sitting here in Rome and I see Enfields everywhere. So the Romans, the Italians who love their motorbikes,
Wow.
are buying Enfields right, left, and centre. I see them all the time. And then of course there's Rider Mania, which has now become, I can't remember the name, they've renamed it Motorverse, I think it's called, which is one of the greatest motorbike festivals in the world. I mean, it's a single brand festival, so it's only for Enfield owners, but there's 15, 20,000 of them every year, and they love it. And we go to Rider Mania. We've been going to Rider Mania for 15 years, 10 years. So I'm a huge fan.
Thank you. And there is a question from Aditya from Delhi. He is asking, you have seen the world scenario of event industry, and you were working closely in India and in different parts of the world. How do you rate India in the world scenario of event management, event industry?
I mean, I think we're as good as anyone in the world, if not better. In certain areas of the event business or the event experience, we are better. If you look at what the Ambanis did in Jamnagar, for example, I mean, that was global news, and we know because we helped build that entire event. We know the challenges that confronted the Indian event business. And in Jamnagar, there was 900 agencies involved, most of them Indian, about 30,000 crew, and let's face it, it was a pretty unpopulated part of northern Gujarat. That was made into this extraordinary space that the whole world came and photographed. The world's biggest celebrities came to. I mean, just like this last weekend, obviously in Mumbai. So we do things brilliantly in that way, and it really, the glitz, the color, the warmth, the hospitality that we as Indians can provide is unmatched anywhere in the world. I mean, no one else can do it as well as we can do it. And then, of course, you look at what Wizcraft does with IFA. You look at what DNA does with the IPL. The IPL is the biggest sports tournament in the world these days. I mean, that is an event, right? So, yeah, I don't think we should be the very best agencies. So let's say the top 10, 12, 15 agencies in India are as good as any other agency in the world, if not better, like I said.
Great. Thank you. That's very reassuring and very promising for all the newcomers who are coming to join the event industry. And there are lots of, when you announced about your new IP that is coming up about cars, everyone is very
Generation
excited.
Speed.
Yes, yeah. Yes. There are lots of comments and good wishes to you. And everyone is enjoying their huge comments list. And all of them are eagerly waiting for your new events. Thank you so much, Martin.
Yeah, well, it'll be super looking forward to Generation Speed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin, for being here. The world is a stage. Life is an event. And sometimes I feel magicians like you and the rest of our brothers from the industry, true mavericks who pull out from that hat, along with the rabbit, great experiences of life, make this world so beautiful for us. And for you and I who walk the path of events, guys, we are in the right seat, driving the right cars. And you and I are going to make a difference to a whole world that is not celebrating life as an event. Thank you, Martin da Costa, for all that you do. I wish you all the best. Special hugs to my dear friend Sagarika and your lovely little boys. May God and life show you the best moments ever in the future days. And remember, life is just like a small battlefield. So when you go out there, be prepared, like Martin is always, come back victorious. Because in life's battle, there are no losers. God bless you. Stay rocking forever. Thank you guys for being with us. Meenamma loves you. Subscribe to me, follow me, because I'm here to tell you stories of great people like Martin.